from Four Stripes. This is Philip Wong, your host, aka Rolling Thunder, and welcome to the Rolling Thunder Show, a podcast where we will talk to different Jiu Jitsu practitioners from all over Asia, from white belts to black belts, on various topics like gym cultures, etiquettes, recent news, juicy stories, and much, much more. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Oops. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rolling Thunder Show. Today I have a very special guest, BJJ black belt, slash actor, slash public speaker, Professor Mike Powers. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm very good. Good to be here, brother. Good to see you. And what I want to know is, why is there not video? You have a beautiful face. I have a beautiful face. What's going on here, bro? Were you embarrassed?
But ask JK, man. I think we had one or two shows we did with... Yeah, we did.
I mean, if all the ladies could see you right now, it would be over.
I know. They should. Actually, you know, last time we were at the Espada competition, the whole, I think, 7-8 gyms from Hong Kong, all there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm screaming just like everybody else is screaming.
Yes.
Actually, nobody knew who I was.
Till they heard that voice.
They heard the voice. They're like...
That popular voice.
Like, I heard your podcast.
That must be Rolling Thunder over there.
The voice of Jiu Jitsu in Hong Kong.
The ladies' phones were coming out, wanted the selfies, get the digits. I get it.
Only the guys.
That's horrible, right? Yeah, I always say I picked the wrong profession because, you know, guys get excited when there's cauliflower ear and all this stuff, but girls, they don't like that. You know, and then I went to look at salsa, you know, some free classes many years ago with a girl, and I saw these nerds dancing with the hottest, most beautiful, and I'm like, they broke in the system. They went past, this is how you do it. And here I am, these sweaty, stinky guys, you know, I'm like, I picked the wrong profession, bro.
I know, you know, Taki-san always tells all the white belts. He's like, Japanese girls like cauliflower ears. I'm like, no, they don't.
Not true. Not true. Yes.
Yeah. But no, you know, I always try to get Mike on here. He's a very, very busy guy. But you have a very interesting story. That's why I want to have you up there before. You know, many people have said that Jiu Jitsu changed their life. Now, your story is very interesting, you know, if you can tell our listeners about your story. How you started, because you came from really, you know, what's the word for it? From really down under to come back.
Yes.
To save yourself, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, can you talk about it?
Well, it's very interesting, you know. You guys know I'm a strong Christian and a pastor, basically. And I've been following God for many years. And I feel like God used surfing and jiu-jitsu to save my life. You know, it's not necessarily church, but surfing and jiu-jitsu, that environment, those mentors, world champions. And when I first started jiu-jitsu, a little over 20...
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that you're also a world-class surfer.
I was a professional surfer when I was younger. I wasn't one of the world-class guys. Like a lot of my friends are very good. But I was sponsored by Rusty and DC Shoes. And I was in surfer magazines, all that stuff, traveled on the world. Was a sponsor, made a little bit of money, but that, you know, opened opportunities so that I could be in the surf industry working. I was a sales rep for Rip Curl for all of Southern California, and then I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars as, you know, mid-20s, and it was interesting. So surfing, you know, it's kind of got me out of the old lifestyle. You know, I was arrested 5 times before I was 18. Just dumb kid stuff. You know, stole a gun from Target, this store, and later, when I was 16, I pulled a gun on some people, me and my friends. We used to mess around a lot with it. And then got arrested for that and stole wood for a skateboard ramp. Just, you know, all these types of things. But, yeah, I mean, I never met my real dad. My mom had me at 16. And I spoke about this on my Instagram recently, actually, and very much exposed myself because I think it's important to take people that look successful in certain people's eyes and show that it wasn't always like that. You know, people had hardship, and it gives people hope and inspiration. We say, his life was an absolute mess, and look what happened. He surrounded himself with mentors, world champion fighters and surfers, and that's what I was saying in the beginning. I feel God used that to pull me out of the hole, because if you have bad mentors and bad influences, you're going down. You know what I'm saying? So jiu-jitsu is so beautiful because it does that to people. You know, there's studies done with PTSD that have helped so many people in the military and all that don't get help from medication necessarily, but they start doing jiu-jitsu, and there's studies that people are getting healed from PTSD because you have community, you have challenges you're overcoming, and all of a sudden it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a tool from God. It's a beautiful martial art, you know?
I love the martial art. That's why we're all here. But the only thing I would, not really disagree. The only opinion I have is I think jiu-jitsu actually make you a better person or make you worse.
That's true. Power is...
It goes both ways, right? I believe,
You're absolutely right. The good news is, look, we see a majority of the people that do jiu-jitsu don't have egos, don't get out of control. And a lot has to do with your professor. Yeah. It's like a boss of a corporation. It trickles down. If your corporation's a mess, look to the top. Yeah. And the same is true with the Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Look to the top. If people are violent and egotistical and not learning, whatever it is, you got to go to the top. And I see ego in my studio. I weed it out immediately. You know how I do it? I smash them. I take those students and smash that ego right out of them because I love them, right? Yeah. The worst thing I could do as a professor is watch my students do an armbar wrong over and over and over again and not correct it. And it's the same with ego, attitude, character. That's my responsibility. That's what I learned from my professor, Rodrigo. That's what he learned from his professor, Carlson Gracie. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Clark Gracie, his grandson, his nephew, my great friend. We were raised from Rodrigo, so we come from that mentality. But, you were talking about how my story of starting jiu-jitsu over 20 years ago. I actually started, I've been with Rodrigo Medeiros. He's a multiple-time world champion. All my belts from white belt to black. And I've been a black belt for 12 years now. And but I started with Vitor Belfort, multiple-time world champion UFC. Yeah. Yes. He moved to California. Him and Carlos Valente, they were my first professors. Yes. Because my youth pastor, Vitor Belfort was living with my youth pastor. Oh, okay. And so we were all friends. We'd hang out all the time. And Vitor started an academy with him. My youth pastor was a blue belt, Jay Hohen. Amazing guy, helped change my life in many ways. And I started training with Vitor and Carlos Valente. They started an academy. Yeah. And man, it was amazing to see that mindset. Vitor he's even now, an all-star in the UFC. Yeah. So my mindset was start jiu-jitsu. I was a white belt. Everyone schooled me like everybody. It doesn't matter how athletic you were. I was surfed and all this, but, nerds were choking me out. And I'm like, I got to learn this. This is pretty important right now. But Vitor was even the short time he was with us, he was a great influence, and Carlos Valente as well. But from white belt all the way through, I was with Rodrigo Medeiros because there's a world champion. Do you know who Margarita is? Yes. Fernando Margarita. Yeah. So him and like Roger Gracie, these guys are like the legends of jiu-jitsu, the top dog world champions back then.
He has a pass named after him, one of the greatest pass. Guard pass.
Yeah. And so he would come to San Diego, and we'd hang out all the time. And when Vitor left back to Brazil, because he's a star, he went to do UFC. He has no business running an academy with a bunch of white belts, right? Yeah. And Fernando said, he'd take me to all the academies in San Diego. Now, San Diego back then only had basically 3 black belts. Today, San Diego is the mecca of jiu-jitsu. That's not my words. Guess who said that? Not San Diego, Southern California. Yeah. Guess who said that? Rickson Gracie. Yeah. He said, it's no longer Rio. It's no longer Brazil. San Diego, Southern California is the mecca. Think every corner you drive, like McDonald's is a world champion. Andre Gavon, Dean List, like you go all the way down the list, and we're all buds. We all grew up together. Yeah. So Rodrigo was there, and I didn't know who was good. I'm a white belt. Yeah. And so Fernando Margarito took me to Rodrigo's, and he said, hey, stay here. It was awesome. He knew. And I've been with Rodrigo ever since. We were 5-time U.S. national champions back then. We had all these world champions, all these champions. I'm a 3-time U.S. champion, Pan American champion. I've gotten 3rd in the world twice. And going back next year to be world champion, it's going to happen because it's my time. Yeah. If we get out of this freaking COVID situation, which drives me crazy, and I won't get into it so that you don't get banned on anything. But, my friends are like, don't go there, Professor Mike. I'm very dogmatic, and I'm very hostile against a lot of the stuff. But I'll leave that alone. But anyways.
Yeah. But, one topic very interesting, because I was talking to Hohen in a few of my previous episodes about being loyal to a gym. Actually, the term, what's the Brazilian
Gramsci.
Karachi.
Yes, that comes from Carlson Gracie, which is, the team
But
we
the
came.
first guy, whoever got the name, was Vitor Belfort.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, was it? I thought it was the
No,
first.
no. It was more back when Top Team started.
Okay.
So all these champion fighters that you see in the old UFC and on what became Top Team and all that, they were all Carlson Gracie guys.
Yeah.
The best fighters in the world were with my professor Rodrigo, and
Yeah.
his professor was Carlson Gracie. So Carlson Gracie was more the Crianci and his family first.
Yeah.
Because he was the one black sheep, my professor tells us about it, that said, you know what, the Gracies wanted to kind of, in a way, keep the jiu-jitsu within their own community, their own brothers.
Yeah.
And Carlson said, no, there's so much talent out in the world, like Vitor Belfort, like Rodrigo Medeiros and these people. Yeah. We need to take our family sport and martial art to the world. Yeah. And so he started training up the kids around, and then he got ostracized from the other Gracie Academy. And then he's like, no problem. I'm going to train my guys up against my own guys, old guys of family. And that was it. They started smashing all the other Gracies. But then the guys got together and left Carlson and started Top Team type stuff. And I'm not getting it all correct, but it was something similar to that. And then I think out of that formulated Kronchi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The term came from what I know, if my facts is correct, is it came from a drama show in Brazil.
I'm not sure. I have to ask my wife. She's Brazilian, so.
Yeah. Something like that.
It's an old school. It's an old school term. Yeah.
But we talked about this topic before, just really quick. You said you stay with a professor from white to black. Have you ever cross-trained, or did you just stay with him?
No.
What was the
he is
the mindset?
Yeah, he is my professor. It doesn't matter if I go train another place. In my heart, I die for him.
Yeah.
He bleeds for me. I bleed for him.
Yeah.
And he knows that. He knows I'm loyal. And yes, I also with Clark Gracie, his father, Carly Gracie, Clark was a purple belt, brought him down to Rodrigo's in San Diego from San Francisco. And he knew Clark needed some higher level guys. We had the best team in the U.S. There, for a long time. So Clark came in, and then at purple belt, Clark's dad wanted him to start teaching more his own little academy. And so me and Clark, a little bit together, Clark said, hey, I love the way, because my professor Rodrigo let me teach a little bit as purple belt. And Clark was like, hey, I'm going to go out. We're still under Rodrigo, but we're going to go out down the street and have a little academy so I can practice teaching.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? But we're still under the umbrella of Rodrigo. So I would go out and help Clark. Clark's like, hey, I love the way you teach. We're like best friends. Yeah. Come over with me. Let's teach a little bit. We're still here at Rodrigo's training, but would you help me? Yeah. So, but in my heart, and Clark's as well, we were with Rodrigo. We bleed for him. And so I did cross-train a lot. But in my heart,
But under the same umbrella.
That's right. That's right. No, but there's other academies I go to all the time.
Yeah.
And with my students, I'm like that as well. You can train wherever you want, but you're mine. You're in my gang. And if you don't like it, then get out. I smash you. That's it. You're a Creonchi. It is that. It is that. Yeah. No hard feelings, but get out. Don't come around.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because in martial arts, we teach loyalty.
Yeah.
We teach honor.
Yeah.
You don't. It's different. It's a different business model.
Yeah.
You don't just leave. You bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, my opinion is always that I don't mind going to open mat. I'm very open to go to other people's open mat. I do not attend people's lessons.
Yeah.
Because I feel.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I don't. Here's the truth coming from a professor, and I've been a professor for a long time now. I love when my students go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Why? They're going to learn.
Yeah.
The motive is love. Okay. So if my students can get better somewhere, I love that. And what's going to happen? They're going to bring that back to my academy because I don't have every tool to build them up. And how do I learn? From looking at other black belts, from looking at other high-level belts. So it's the same for them. If their loyalty is with me and I know that, there's no issues. There's no issues. They should be able to go somewhere else. I shouldn't be a possessive boyfriend.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But there is a balance and there is boundaries of like, hey, it's getting a little bit what's going on over here. You're not training enough with us or whatever. Yeah. But I'm very straightforward. I'm loving. Guys know I'm nice and sweet. Yeah. But people that know me know I make boundaries. Yeah. Like I'm saying, if you have problems with me, I will smash you and apologize later. You know what I mean? And again, it's love. It's not the motive. It's not
Yeah.
ego. It's this. If people have attitude and ego when I don't,
Yeah.
I take that very offensive. And the best thing I can do as a professor is correct that. And sometimes love is tough, man.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. You know, I asked Hohen a question on one of our previous episodes. He couldn't answer me.
Who?
Hohen. He's a newer black belt.
Yeah.
So, you know, I asked him if there's a guy, just for instance, he goes Monday, Wednesday to some gym, and then he goes maybe Tuesday, Thursday to your gym. On a consistent basis, do you promote him, or do you go, hey, go to where does your loyalty lie?
Yeah.
I understand cross training.
Yeah.
That maybe you go once in a while.
Yeah.
But if you go on a consistent basis, is tough, right? How do you deal with that?
Yes.
I've been asking a lot of people this question.
Yes.
How do you because you know when you're in a competition, I seen Mike in competition, and you scream. We all scream at our students. You know, you're pouring that heart out.
Yeah.
But when this person come on a consistent basis, you're pouring your heart out to teach him. Now when he's fighting, he's not fighting for you. Do you? It's a tough situation,
Yeah.
right? How do you deal with that?
This is a good question, and it takes confrontation. As a professor, and not a wrong confrontation, it means conversation. And so let me give you a great example that's very close to you. One of your champions of 4 stripes is Jade Church, the purple belt.
Yeah.
He's my purple belt. I gave him that.
Okay.
But Kiko and I are very, very close. We're brothers.
Yeah.
We're same team. We've been friends for over 20 years. We both got our black belts from Professor Rodrigo. And Jade is a teacher, so he teaches early. And my classes are usually like 7:30 at night.
Yeah.
And so it got a little bit complicated where Kiko has some earlier classes. And so he wanted to train over there. So he came and asked me very respectfully. And I said, yeah, that's no problem, but here's what we need to do. And also, I'm preparing Jade and Kiko as well to be maybe a professor later as well. Yeah. All of my students I do. You never know. I didn't think I was going to be a professor, but it's a very lucrative income and it's a good career. And I have freedom. I do what I want, right? It's a good career. So I showed him, when you become a professor one day, I want you to look at how I handled this. You need to make a decision right now that I am your professor, and Kiko and I together will upgrade you, give you your belt, stripes, whatever it is, but I have no problem you going there. If you go to someone else, you're out. And I told him straight up, you get out. That's how I am. Yeah. If you want to go somewhere else besides Kiko, you get out. And don't come back. No hard feelings. Yeah. God bless, but be on your way. Yeah. So how did I deal with it? I talked about it. Now, if it's someone different than Kiko, I would come and say, hey, look, are you with me or them? You need to make a decision now, because you're going to, here's why. Let's say it's Rodrigo Caporal, which I love so much. We're very close. Yeah. But it's one of Rodrigo Caporal's students. Yeah. I would say, hey, is he okay with you being here, number one? Or if it's one of my students and they're going over to Rodrigo's, I'd be like, hey, you need to make a decision, man. Because you know what you're going to do? You're going to make tension between me and that other professor.
Absolutely.
Do you see what's happening here?
Yes. Because
who's going to elect you and all that? And so what I talked to Jade about is, for you later as a professor, you need to address the issues early. If you see someone that's cross-training too much consistently, you need to address it and say, listen, you're with me, but I don't want you going over that much, because you know what? It's taking away from training here, and I want to know where your heart is. Are you with me or not? Because who's going to give you your belts? Is it me or them? If it's them, then get out. Yeah. No problem, but get out right now. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And if it's me, no problem, and you're cross-training a little bit. So there's a couple different ways to answer that, right? Yeah. Because I have Kiko as well, who's my brother. We're the same, you know, opposed to one of the other professors that I love. Yeah. But if you're my student, you're my student. Yeah. See, Jiu Jitsu is a gang. It's not a business, bro. It's a gang. You are in a gang, and it's different politics.
It is.
It's of loyalty. Look at Bruce Lee, okay? Bruce Lee, an amazing person that influenced martial arts more than anyone, and then it would probably be the Gracies, of course, if not, you know, synonymously the same. Bruce Lee was frowned upon, and here we are in Hong Kong, his hometown. Yeah. He was frowned upon because he went to different academies to get information. With him in that situation, I would agree, because the academies that back then, you'd be loyal to the one martial art. Yeah. But the truth is, sometimes a student might have to say this, you know what? I'm not getting what I need. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot. You got to look at the student as well. So Bruce Lee went out, learned many different martial arts, and listen to this. He was the inventor of MMA.
Yeah.
Why? Go look at YouTube right now. Enter the Dragon, 1973. The first 60 seconds of the video, you can go look. He's wearing modified MMA gloves. He's in a little arena fighting in people. It's him and another guy.
A Samohong.
And he does three things.
Yeah,
What is
armbar.
MMA? It's stand-up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a takedown. And then it's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
What does he do? He starts with some striking and some kicking. He does a judo takedown. And then he finishes it with an armbar with tapping out.
Yeah.
Now, him as a student, if he didn't leave to say, you know what, I know this is looked down upon, and I'm a cronchi, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he had to pioneer. He knew there was something more as well.
Yeah.
And so now we have what the evolution of that is. It's MMA. The Gracies came and said, look, real jiu-jitsu, by the way, my foundations is real jiu-jitsu. There's sport jiu-jitsu and real.
Yeah.
I teach both. What's real jiu-jitsu? It's MMA. Who invented it, basically? The most part popularized it was the Gracies, right? Back because of Brazil, they're already doing it. Yeah. But they popularized it, hard word to say, because of UFC. It wasn't to make money per se. It was a lot to be, our martial art is the most superior. It had striking, it had takedowns, it had everything. Yeah. But the ground was the emphasis.
Yeah.
So I will just finish with this. It's good for a professor to set the boundaries, but sometimes it's good for the student to leave because they see potential and a bigger future for themselves and the martial art. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I always...
It's a long-winded answer for what you asked, but... yeah, I'm like Google for this stuff, so.
It is good. No, I always respected Mike because, you know, one of your students, I don't know if he's still in Hong Kong. I think he just left. Ollie.
Yeah, Ollie, yeah. He's studying now. He's becoming a lawyer. He's
in UK now, right?
Yeah. He's living over there and doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, for those who doesn't know, I think Ollie, I started Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
In Kowloon.
Yeah.
He was part of Kowloon before.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a trouble boy.
Yes. He's a good kid. Yeah, he's gone a lot, but he was very young.
He was very young.
The most talented of all my students. I just gave him his black belt, last year. He's been trained. He's from Hawaii. He's been training for, gosh, it was like 15 or 16 years since a boy. So he's in his 20s. I mean, he's, I think, 27, and he just got his black belt. That's a big accomplishment. So sometimes I tell him, I was like me, when I was younger, I had ego too. Before I gave my life to God, I tried to suppress it, but it's more insecurity for me and probably him as well. And not just him, but everybody. Yeah. And when you're young like that and talented, you can get ego because it's threatening because you have this power all of a sudden and it might be threatened by someone. We don't know how to handle it yet. Yeah. But now he's amazing. He's fine. He grew out of all that. And he's doing great.
But I remember, for listeners, Ollie, I mean, when I first started with him,
he was a troublesome,
he was always nice to me.
Yeah.
I mean, but he did cause a lot of trouble in Kowloon.
Yes.
I think he is the only one who ever asked to leave.
Yeah, did he? Yeah.
In Kowloon history.
Yeah.
But he went through, I think, other gyms, and he finally landed.
Yeah, he went to a lot of gyms, and he ended up with Professor Daniel first.
Yeah.
Both of us kind of, but Daniel kind of got him there, and then we were both mentoring him, and then Daniel left to Portugal.
Yeah.
And so I was the sole person raising this child. He's my child.
Yes.
And he's a wonderful, wonderful, talented person.
He's very, very talented.
Very talented, man.
I mean, when he was white belt, I think he was already kicking ass.
Yeah.
A lot of purple belt couldn't tap him.
Yeah.
He was tapping purple ones with blue or white.
He's my most talented student.
Very talented guy. But he had a character that is hard to...
Yes. Well, that's what happens with young people that have money or power, right? Not just, it's everyone mostly. We don't know how to control that. When you're an infant and you're getting to eat whatever you want all day and you're the king, you don't know how to make wise decisions. You need mentors. So what happened? Professor Daniel, he smashes people, right? You know his style. That's what Ollie needed. He needed. And I get in there and I smash Ollie. He needs that tough love I was talking about. Right? And you have to gauge as a professor. Some need tough love. Some of them need a more nurturing kind of affection. You know what I mean? And but Ollie's going to be a great professor one day, I believe, and all that.
I think so, yeah. I think last time I saw him when I came up to Hybrid to visit you guys, sounds like he changed quite a bit, and you know I'm very proud of him.
Yeah.
I mean, too bad we couldn't grow together in Kowloon. I think it was.
Now I got
Yeah.
him. He smashes everyone for me. Every competition, he would just smash everybody. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. So no, but like I said, you know, some change to be a better person.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of the, you know, he went really bad and then came back.
Yeah. You know,
He
it's
went
similar
through
to
the
my
whole-
story.
Yeah.
Bro, my life was a mess, man. You know, my best friend back when I started stealing at 14 years old was my buddy Keith. And I was hanging out. All I wanted to do was like surf a little bit and ride bikes and stuff like this at 14. And Keith ended up dealing drugs. I ended up at 18 rededicating my life to Jesus and just following God and all of that. Because the surfboard shaper, John Carper, famous shaper in Hawaii today, he told us about God and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I want. I stopped doing drugs, stopped doing all sleeping around, everything. Yeah. And I'm not perfect at all, bro. Not at all. But my buddy Keith, he ended up going the other path. That's why I say surfing and jiu-jitsu saved my life. Yeah. My buddy Keith started dealing drugs, ended up in prison for years. We got arrested together the first time. We always hung out. He got into prison for years. When he got out, he was a crystal addict, stuck on it. I got him into church for a little bit to help and just mentoring him, you know what I mean? Yeah. Church doesn't save you, by the way. God does, you know what I mean? I believe there's something way bigger than us, of course, and church has shamefully become a business in many ways. And so, you know, but God can save you, and good mentors, whether that is a church or not. And he ended up overdosing, and he died. And that was me. Yeah. That was me. We were together. You know what I mean? But I just really feel, I made that commitment to God, and I feel
it's
he
kind
honored
of
it.
interesting, right? Because it could have been you if you didn't make.
No, we were the same, and he was kind of more the leader a little bit, so I followed.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And so it should have been me in prison. It should have been me overdosing, because the neighborhood we grew up was like that. You know, I grew up in a place called Claremont, which is rich people now, because at the time, but it was more white trash with the busting Mexicans to my school, and like there's gangs and all this and that type of stuff. And so I was just in that environment. And then I got out to go to a school called Mission Bay and then La Jolla High, which are all the surfers. So that got me out of the environment. Yeah. You know, he stayed in it, and then he's dead today. I spoke at his funeral, and that's, you know, not just me, but many people, things like surfing, things like jiu-jitsu can save your life. You know, Absolutely. It's much more than learning to fight. People see it as, oh, you're learning how to kick butt. No, it's not that at all. Yeah. It's learning discipline. It's learning respect and all these things. Yeah. It's learning confidence.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? There's so much more in this, and I think it's a tool of God, like I said before, if you allow it to be. Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you think of jiu-jitsu nowadays? You know, the last 10 years has changed.
Yes, dramatically.
Yes. Now, I find it kind of funny. You know, beginning everybody calls it Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Now you got, Keenan calling it American jiu-jitsu.
Yes, yes.
Actually, I don't really have a problem with that. I think jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the term American jiu-jitsu, it just means Americans doing jiu-jitsu. Yes. It doesn't mean it's changing from the whole Brazilian thing. But what do you think about that? You know?
Yeah, I don't really care, because I feel like you. It's jiu-jitsu, you know, and I've heard Keenan talk about this, and I've heard him also talk like, hey, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, basically. Yeah. I'm saying I'm an American that does jiu-jitsu. What's the difference between a Brazilian saying he does jiu-jitsu? It's a Brazilian doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Is he poking the bear a little bit? Yeah, I think so. You know what I'm saying? He's got that.
He's getting the likes.
Yeah, I respect that. That's fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? But look, it's not a big deal to me, to be honest, all of it. We shouldn't be, it should be world jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's a community of the world now. It should be like, hey, whatever you are, it doesn't really matter. It's a non-issue for me, to be honest.
Yeah. Because now also, because of this, there's the old school jiu-jitsu and the modern jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
So do you keep updating yourself for your students, or do you there are professors that teach concepts. For instance, like Marcelo Garcia's game has always been that game. I think he changed a little bit, but very, very few. He doesn't do the whole nowadays. What is it, like K guard is the most popular now?
Yeah. Yes, I'm very current with all of that stuff, especially this last 5 years especially, I really stepped it up more. And what I do is I get other black belt professors or black belts that specialize in the area. You know, I'm the specialty in Kimura.
Yeah.
I see it everywhere. I use it for holding, passing, submitting, everything. And then I actually hired Kent Lamb. He's, you know, a Henzo Gracie black belt and over hanging with John Danaher guys for years in New York. He's living here now. So I brought him in to help out a little bit because years ago when I saw him using the saddle and competition and smashing everyone, we weren't sure what it was too much. It was all a little bit. I brought him in, and so the last 5 years, he's been helping me on footlock stuff.
Yeah.
So saddle's a huge part of my game now.
Okay.
And then even like Frank Kim, you know, he was my student. He was my brown belt. He's a black belt now, but he was starting to use squid guard and worm guard and stuff. And I like stuff that you can use for gi and no gi. Because when I fight the worlds, I fight world gi and the world masters, gi and no gi. That's what I like. So most of my stuff's Kimura, whether you're using a gi or not, doesn't matter. Yeah. But even Frank, he was using that stuff, and I'm like, and I remember he was getting me stuck in the spot where I couldn't move. I'm like, let me see that. And it didn't hurt my hands to use it. So I started using that a lot. And then Fabio, the black belt, helped me a little bit more on it. Yeah. Viking helped me a lot. Viking's amazing. He's a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Very good.
He's very intelligent. He helped me with all my steam lock stuff and different areas. So yeah, I've been using the K guard a lot, you know, squid guard, worm guard, saddle, all of this stuff. Because as a professor, I need to up my education as well. Yeah. So how do I do that? I look for experts in those areas. Yeah. So other professors look to me as the Kimura guy. Yeah. Me and Clark Gracie developed this together years ago. He's known to be Omoplata king, but he's the Kimura king. And as we were teaching together from purple to black, as we had our academy together for many years, we developed that kind of together, the motorcycle grip and all the stuff. So when I grab other black belts, so in competition, and I only fight now the U.S. Nationals, the Pan American, and the World's Masters in no gi. I don't do the smaller ones anymore. Yeah. But so far, only one person, when I've gotten the Kimura on any of my fights, when I've locked it in, I've either submitted all of them or I've swept all of them. Except for one person got out, one in the Pan American. He got out, and then nothing happened. He went deep half guard. From deep half guard, I have a very nice Kimura top attack when I'm on top. And then his head went on the other side of my leg, so it was kind of weird. So I kind of just got out of there and reset. But so far, I'm almost 100%. If I get that Kimura, bro, finishing you or sweeping you, period. Yeah. That's it. And so I look for other people that are experts in that area. You know, like Kent coming from Henzo's and John Danaher, bro, his footlocks are current. They're beautiful. Yes. And you don't get that from just looking online. No, you get that from training in that camp in New York. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So I desperately look for those types of people. I'm not egotistical where I'm like, oh, they can. Yeah. Oh, Professor Daniel, I learned his deep half guard stuff. Yeah. He does his double lapel grip thing. It's beautiful. I shouldn't say it because that's his game, and he doesn't put anything online. He tries to hide it all, but yeah, I'll put it online and say Daniel did it. Yeah, but he's a European champion. So I look at world champions, guys, friends of mine. Yeah. My professor, you know, all these different guys. Joel Tudor is a guy that I started. He's a world champion longboarder as well. I started him in the beginning, and he would travel to Henzo Gracie and all these people and come back with the secrets. Yeah. And so wherever I can up my education, because as you guys know, and everyone listening, you know, if you don't stay current, you're getting left behind. Oh, this martial art's moving forward. And even as me training for over 20 years, bro, there's so much stuff that I got to learn. Yeah. And that's what makes it exciting. You know what I mean? So yes, I stay very current. I bring many different black belts to study what they do.
That's great.
It's very similar to a doctor. Yeah. Look, you might be a doctor. So what? If you try and do shoulder surgery on me when you're an eye doctor, it doesn't do me too much. Do you see what I'm saying? Absolutely. And so I look for the foot doctors like Kent, the Kimura doctors like me, or the Darce doctors, right?
Absolutely.
And I focus three things real quick. I'm always focusing on the head. The Kimura is the middle of the body, or the feet, because those three are always exposed. If you focus your jiu-jitsu on those three things, you're going to get really good. Yeah. So when someone shoots on you, there's a guillotine or darce available. Yeah. Grab one of those. If you're laying on half guard on the side or whatever, Kimura is always available. It's a holding spot, submitting spot, a passing spot, sweeping spot. It's the superior grip, in my opinion, of all the jiu-jitsu. And then let's say they're on their back. their feet are exposed. If you look at 3 areas all the time, the head, the Kimura grip, and the feet, you're going to get very good at jiu-jitsu. And then branch out and build around that.
Yeah. So what kind of tips do you have for a white belt? You know, I mean, here's the thing that it gets confusing. Not really confusing, I guess. Kind of in a rough spot as you're growing, you're very excited about these moves, you know, these new moves. And then you go into a beginner class. How do you pull it back? What do you teach the guys, right? You teach them, like, okay, there's a new guy. Shrimp. But shrimping is no longer exciting to you, right? You've been shrimping how many, 20-something years?
Yeah, 22 years.
Yeah, so...
I don't...
Or that arm bar from the close guard is not that exciting to be, let's do, you know, the mega warm or the ring warm.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So how do you dial it back, and how do you... Because... You talked about mentorship, how to mentor the new guys.
Yes.
I remember as a white belt, you probably can, I think JK can too. Doesn't matter when you win your white belt, this is cool.
Yes.
But
you don't know how to differentiate what's useful for you at the time and not.
Yes. But you get guys that along the path, there are some jerks in jiu-jitsu to people out there. They're like, this sucks, man. This is not good.
They would never say that to me because they get smashed.
But, you know,
I
they might talk between themselves.
Yes, they do, yes.
They do. You know, there's a blue belt. It's like, man, this move don't work. You got to do like a warm guard. You got to do like K guard. And the guy's like, what is a K guard? And they look at it. They're like, I'm going to quit.
Yes.
You know, but how does a professor, you know, what do you do to dial it back? Because I know I seen, you know, I was at the Espada competition. These guys looks great. I was looking at my guys. I was like, oh, shit. They're all, you know, here's the thing. I don't care if they're winning or not winning. They came in all in the same fucking uniform. Sorry if I'm swearing.
Yeah, all of us.
Same
uniform. Hybrid, yeah, all hybrid uniform, ready to go.
All hybrid uniform.
Ready for war, bro.
And they're all warming up together.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, guys, come over here. Let's warm up together. I was kind of walking around, just having a sip of water. What's up, guys? I'm like, okay, let's everybody get together.
Yeah, when I bring my students to competitions, we come to kill, bro. It's no more games. It's fun on the mats, but when it's competition, we come to kill, because that's what I learned from my professor. Yeah. That's what he learned from his professor. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's my DNA. Yeah. And so we take it serious. Why? You can get hurt. You're representing your professor. You're representing yourself. Yeah. You get out there and you do your best so you can feel proud.
Yeah. So how
so do you in my teaching style is, you know, I'm going to give away some good secrets for you guys that are professors or going to be professors one day that help me a lot. And if you have a big class, it's hard because how do you please everybody? Yeah. How do you make everyone grow? So I have a curriculum I call the Dirty 30. And it's basically, if you think of thousands of moves of jiu-jitsu, what are the top 30 moves? Right? Yeah. I've segmented it down to basically what 90% of black belts do 90% of the time. It's kind of the 80-20 principle, right? So, for example, if you're in closed guard, almost 90% of black belts get out the same way. They're going to grab your sleeve, they're going to grab your collar, they're going to pull you up into their lap, and they're going to dig. Yeah. So right there, I don't need to teach you 1,000 ways to get out of closed guard. Yeah. What do 90% of black belts do? So that would be number one on the thing. 90% of black belts do the same type of takedown with different variations. Yeah. They grab the collar, they dip down, they pick up the leg, and they do kind of the trip there. Yeah. You see? So what I've done is take the 30. So what are the top 2 ways on the top to get out of closed guard? What are the top 2 ways to pass the guard? What are the top 2 ways to get out of half guard? What are the top 2 ways to get inside mount? You see what I'm saying? I'm passing the guard. Yeah. What about mount? What are the top 2 ways to finish this guy according to 90% of black belts? And then when you get the back, what are the top 2 ways to finish the guy according to 90% of black belts statistically? It would be bow and arrow choke. Yeah. So what I've done, and I just gave a lot of my secrets away, is I've broken it down to the top 30 moves in jiu-jitsu. So white, blue, purple, brown, black can all grow. So what I'll do, so let's say it's closed guard, getting out of closed guard. Pretty boring for a purple or a brown belt to learn that again. They know what to do. Yeah. But you always can learn a little more. So what I'll do is, for my agenda for purple, brown, and black, their professor level is to learn how to teach and learn. So what I'll do is take the lower level belts and say, okay, we're low guard break or stand-up guard break. higher level belts, I want you to go and teach what I just showed you guys to the white belts that are beginning. So when they're speaking it and talking about it, how do you learn quicker than anything? By actually teaching.
Yeah.
So they're learning there. I let them do that for a little bit, and then I say, okay, all you white belts, now you guys just do it by brand new, no problem. Do it with each other that you do it. And now my purple, brown, black, whatever, come over here in the corner. I want to show you the next step to what we do here.
Okay.
So all of a sudden in one class, now that's hard to do as my class has gotten bigger. Like the nights I got like 20 plus people, and then I have guys that are learning shrimping, are trying front roll. So on Monday and Tuesday, I just changed it where Ronnie, my brown belt, is taking the white belts aside and I'm teaching them a little bit, and then I give more elements that are advanced. So that way people get what they want. Because your advanced guys that are getting bored with like, okay, shrimping and all that, what do they need to, they don't know what they even need to know. I'm giving them what they need to know. They need to learn how to teach. They need to prepare how to mentor. They need to see the little bit more deeper details of what I actually do in competition, what black belts are using. So that way, everyone gets something in a 1 hour period.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I have a very systematic approach on how to do all of this stuff. It's very methodical to me. And it breaks it down. I saw Viking's podcast on here the other day. And Viking, if you're listening, thank you, brother. I appreciate you saying the best academy, most welcoming academy. You said if you went to any academy, what would it be in Hong Kong for a beginner or someone just to be welcome, to feel like. And he said with Mike Powers, a hybrid. And, you know, Viking's awesome, bro. Like I said, again, he helped my jiu-jitsu a lot. And as we were working together, he was very gracious. He used to come and train at my academy and have his students come and all that. And but I look at what he does. I look at what Kent does. My other professor teaches with me, Sean, you know, because he's got an MMA influence as well. I love that stuff. And then I continually evolve my systematic approach as well. So when I got here in Hong Kong 10 years ago, next month will be 10 years. 10 years, a decade. I'm a much, of course, better professor now, right? From looking all the other black belts, I've had the ability to look at like Professor Alex Silva, world champion, 1FC world champion. Now at Evolve, you know, he was with us teaching, and you know, all these different guys. And man, that's how I learned. Professor Kiko helping me with the underhook stuff. Like you can go on and on that I look at these guys, and then I built my approach off that.
No, that's amazing. I mean, just learning different game, right? And also, you know, like yourself said, just staying loyal to, you know, because I think I told many people before too, if it wasn't for Taki, if I didn't start with Taki, I would probably go with Mike as well.
Over me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
for
brother.
sure.
And you know what? Taki is the most, gosh, he's one of my favorite people in the world. Him and Professor Henry are such beautiful people, and martial arts to the core, bro.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're good guys. And even Professor Henry came recently, and I've been learning some of his turtle guard stuff from Telus that he learned. And just Taki as well, the different styles when I see them, when I go visit. And man, he's such a good guy, and I love what he's done for the jiu-jitsu community. And your whole team over there at Kowloon, such wonderful. You know, I did a seminar for you. You guys brought me over years ago. I really love the whole community of jiu-jitsu here in Hong Kong. You know, Caporal has such great people. Like, I can't say enough about all the academies. You know, Shanghai, BJJ, you know, Kaiki, all these guys are so cool.
Yeah,
and
I think Hong
we feel
Kong
very
has
privileged to be here with these guys.
Hong Kong has quite a peaceful environment. I mean, there is politics. There's politics.
Yeah, we don't have
everywhere.
too much politics.
We don't have too much. Everybody's quite in the community is quite good.
You know, the whole jiu-jitsu community as a whole in the world has opened up much more. Well, at least the areas I've been. San Diego was very political when I started. Like, now it's more like it's very open and cool. Like, hey, we all train. We know your loyalties are here. And they realize you learn much more. You're like, hey, I picked up a couple secrets over there. Brought it back. Hey, you're going to compete against this guy? I know what he does. Watch out for that triangle, right?
Yeah. But, you know, those are some of the things. And, you know, we talked about on this show before. There's a lot of... and how do you deal with people dating?
In the gym?
Yeah, in the gym.
I look at if it's... You know, I have to look at it with wisdom and look at if it's a potential disaster. Right? I'm very good at reading people. I can look into your eyes and I know what you're doing. I'm very high IQ. You know, not IQ, sorry, EQ. IQ, like I just said, I don't have very good IQ. IQ in school, I could care less. I wanted to get D's. D plus was passing, so that I didn't spend too much energy because I moved out early. I didn't have to go to school. And so I wanted to get low grades so I could be a pro surfer and not too much energy. Yeah. But EQ, I can read people off the charts. So I did sales for years, all that. Yeah. And I just love people. I have empathy. EQ is the word empathy, basically. Yeah. I can feel and see what people think. I can get in your head. And so when I see a guy is either a predator or he really loves a girl, I can feel it, I can see it, and then I can gauge on what to do. So I've had these types of conversations. I'm not going to address who, but this type of stuff. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, and it's turned out to be actually good relationships and stuff. Yeah. But if someone's using someone or something, I'll address it in a playful way at first. Yeah. But they know that I'm not being too playful. Yeah. And even me with my wife, Camilla, she was my, I met her at a barbecue, but she was also my student. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So look, it can turn out to be love. No, absolutely. It can be a great place to meet somebody too, right? It could. So as a professor, I have to look out that someone's not just being a wolf and just, trying to get some and all that. Yeah.
Because it is, you taught in U.S., you taught in Hong Kong. In the dating, it's different. Hong Kong people are a little more conservative, would you say? When they go to Jiu Jitsu, they're scared, especially girls. They're scared to roll with guys, and then they get hit on or stuff like that. And what kind of advice do you have for professors or guys how to deal with this kind of stuff? Right?
Yeah, you have to really just watch. I mean, most professors, they see this stuff a mile away because we're guys. We know how we feel. Yeah. If there's a pretty girl there or something, and I use peripheral vision a lot. Yeah. See, this is ninja in me, right? Like, I'm looking at you right now, but I can see JK clearly. Yeah. If he lifts his middle finger, he's going to get punched, and I can see it. I can see it, right? And so when I'm teaching, I see everything that's happening peripherally out of the side of my eyes. Do you see what I'm saying? So I can see movements. I can feel emotions. So I pick up on that quick. So professors, you should have that EQ. Most professors do, that emotional intelligence. To recognize things, you know what I mean? And you have to really address it and watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm kind of slow on that kind of stuff, I guess, when I'm so focused on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I understand. But you're not running your own academy. Yeah. Later when you run your own academy, the accountability feels different. It's on your shoulders. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at work, obviously, in my own business, I do, those are on point. I think for jiu-jitsu, I'm just so focused on jiu-jitsu. There's so many times I don't realize it until other guys tell me. It's like, yeah, all these guys are teaching this girl this move, right?
Yeah.
It happens, right? I'm like, oh, I see.
Yes. Well, it's to you, too. You don't think like that. So part of it is like your innocence. You know what I mean? And sometimes the way you learn if you're innocent is by one of the disasters happening. And then in hindsight, it gives you wisdom, right?
Absolutely.
See, in life, you should be looking for 2 words your whole life. In jiu-jitsu, as a professor and a practitioner or whatever, or any successful thing you want to do, look at 2 words I pursue my whole life. Number 1 is love. Number 2 is wisdom. Yeah. Love is the right heart, the right motive, and all of that. If you follow love and follow your heart, you're going to end up with a good career, a good relationship, all of this. And wisdom is more than knowledge. Knowledge is fine. But wisdom is what you want. It's how to apply that knowledge. It's like a gun. Gun's beautiful. It's very powerful. But if you don't have the wisdom on how to aim it and pull the trigger, it doesn't mean anything to you. And so what you should pursue as a professor and a jiu-jitsu practitioner is love. Do you love the game? Do you love what you do? Yeah. And build wisdom. Find other people that have wisdom. Yeah. You build it through your experiences of your ups and downs, your wins and losses. Sometimes my students get so emotional over if they lose or whatever, and I love it when they lose because that's when they're going to learn the most.
Oh, absolutely.
Because some of the white and blue belts. I'm like, guys, I'm not looking at you as a white or blue belt. Yeah. I'm looking at you as a black belt. Absolutely. This is irrelevant. This is part of your path to get you to black belt. Good. I'm glad you lost. You had too much ego. And now you know you can lose. And here's how you lost. You won't make that mistake again. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's the wisdom. And so if you pursue as a professor those 2 words, love and wisdom, you're going to become very successful.
Yeah. Yeah, because the thing is, I also tell my students these days, when they go to calm. I don't really care if they win or lose, actually. I know most of them do. Everybody does.
But there's a balance, too. You don't want them to get so apathetic and lackadaisical that they're like, oh, it's no big deal. There's a very fine balance as a professor to not overwhelm them and scare them, but also not, you don't want too much pressure, but you don't want them to be too lazy.
Yes.
And it's a fine art with each person. And you'll learn that more and more, because what you don't want to do is like, no big deal. And then all of a sudden they didn't do their best or they didn't prepare all that. You know, my professor's big. I learned this from my professor. He's big on that stuff. Look, we go out there for war. You take that as your career. This is a big decision. It's a big step that 99.9% of people in the world will never take. And you're taking it.
Yeah.
And it's going to make your mind overcome obstacles to achieve goals that you never had before. Those types of hard situations, this is what I talked about the other day. World champions are just people that failed over and over and over again until one day they were called world champion.
Yeah.
And that's by taking it serious. That's by doing your best. But not overwhelming yourself when you lose too much that you want to quit, but not taking it too light that you don't care. There's a balance in there in everything in life. Yeah. So,
and for you to promote someone, just for like, let's say white to blue.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk white to blue first. Do you require them to compete?
No, I don't. I always say this to my students a lot. Guys, listen, I get them in a big group. You guys don't have to compete, but you have to compete. That's what I say. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look, you don't have to. But look in my eyes. You have to compete. Because why? Why don't you want to compete? Because you're afraid. Afraid of what? Bears? No. Afraid to lose. You're afraid to lose. It's your ego. That's the truth. Yeah. Think about it. It's so funny. World champion fighters in UFC, Jiu Jitsu, whatever it is, they're afraid. Why? Oh, yeah, and here's what's funny. A person that doesn't fight, they think this. Oh, no wonder they're afraid. I would be afraid too to get hit in the face. They're not afraid to get hit in the face. No. They're terrified of one thing, their ego. Yes. They don't want to lose.
Absolutely.
And I tell my students, you don't have to compete, but guess what? You do.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there's some guys that have big careers and families and stuff, of course. I get it. But the majority of the people that don't compete is because they don't push themselves. There's so many times that I would not have competed that my professor pushed me. And if he did not do that, I would not be the champion that I am today.
Yeah.
It's important to not just do this in jiu-jitsu. This is a mindset and a concept in life. If you do this in jiu-jitsu where you're backing off, you're probably doing that in your relationships and your career as well. Yeah. You're not facing your fears. You're not stepping out.
Yeah.
So I think it's important as a mentor, which I am, to do what world champion mentors did to me. Kick them out into the fire. I want you to feel it. That guess what? It doesn't burn.
Yeah.
Feels good. Your success is on the other side of the fire. Jump through it. See what happens.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much today, Mike. It was a very, very exciting podcast. Stuff. I can't wait until everybody hears it. And we hope to have you back. I think there's much more materials we can go through.
Next time we're going to get into technology, cryptocurrency, and everything else, all right?
Yes. Yeah, thank you guys. Enjoy.
Very good. Thank you, brother.